in the history of the Black Aces, and now Director of Amazon Air, Sarah Rhoads.
Whatever it takes, 'cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do whatever it takes.
All right, well, thank you very much for that warm welcome. Good afternoon and Happy New Year. Orlando is definitely not a bad place to be this time of year, and thank you for coming and joining the National SVA National Conference. Boy, I think SVA also wins the award for the first conference of the year as well, so good time to be down here. Well, thank you very much. I'm really excited to be here today. As mentioned, my name is Sarah Rhoads. I'm the Director of Amazon Air, and I've been invited here today to talk not only about diversity and inclusion, but I'd like to talk a bit about translatable skills. And the first thing I'd like to do before I do that is thank you for your service. Not only thank you for your service, but I applaud you for investing in yourselves and in your education, because your service combined with your education will be an incredible foundation to your civilian career. And that experience that you bring will be absolutely invaluable to any employer that's out there. And that's one reason why you see so many employers here today and over the next couple days. So I'm going to speak a little bit about that and why that's important. But like you, I'm also a veteran. I had the amazing opportunity to serve in the U.S. Navy for a number of years, and like you, I had to make a very difficult decision of whether I was going to stay in and continue my active duty service, or to get out and maybe pursue other things. So it was probably the most difficult professional decision I ever had to make. I look back on my Navy career, and I was able to fly missions during OIF in the early days. I did an instructor tour, I did a forward deployment to Japan, I did a number of other different assignments. So it was a really difficult decision to make after 12 years of active duty, but at the end of the day, I felt very content with my service. So I found what to me was a good happy medium, and so I decided to go into the reserves and start looking for what else was out there on the other side, in other words, in the civilian world. But at that point, I wasn't really quite sure what I was going to do, because I had done exactly what I had wanted to do since I was about 7 years old. So about a year before I left active duty, I floated my resume, because I wanted to see who was interested in me based on what they saw. And there were companies like Amazon that recognized the translatable skills that I brought even before I could recognize my own translatable skills. So I was actually still based in Japan at the time, and I sent my resume into a conference very similar to the SVA conference. And I wasn't even physically in attendance, so first of all, you're one up on that, you're physically here, which is great. But an Amazon recruiter got a hold of my resume. It was in this kind of resume book, and he reached out to me. And I received this email from him, and at first, I thought it was Amazon asking me for a review of some ink cartridges I had recently purchased. And I was about ready to delete it, honestly. But then I actually read the email, and I thought, what got his attention? What on my resume did he see that thought he could reach out to me as a Navy pilot to potentially work for an e-commerce internet retailer? So I started the conversation, and talked a little bit about the operation, and I wanted to learn more. So I asked, and again, I was still in Japan at the time, but I knew that Amazon had a fulfillment center in Japan, outside of Tokyo. And I'd asked if there was any way I could get a tour of the facility. He said, well, let me see what I can do. So he made a few phone calls, and he said, yep, you can go ahead and get a tour on 4th of July. It was the one day that I had off, so it kind of worked out well. So I showed up on the 4th of July, not knowing what I was going to, not really knowing what to expect. And I walked in, and what I saw, I actually, in a weird way, kind of equated to the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. In other words, I saw people that were going all over the place, moving at very fast paces, but each person knew exactly where they were going, what they were doing, they were well trained, and when and how it needed to be done. And I think back to maybe the outside observer looking in on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. They may not know exactly what's going on, but if you're in the operation, you know that everybody has a time, a place, a purpose, and things are timed very precisely. And that actually kind of struck a chord with me, and I thought, all right, maybe there is something there. So what that recruiter saw on that resume is very similar to what you have on your resumes as well. Leadership, teamwork, education, the ability to work in fast-paced environments, make decisions hopefully with clarity of thought. These are some really, in some ways, intangible skills that are very difficult to teach. And so that combined with the education that's on that resume, it brings a lot. So if you had asked me, or even told me 10 years ago that I'd be working for Amazon, I probably wouldn't believe you. If you would have told me 3 years ago that I would be leading and growing an air haul network within an internet retail e-commerce company that currently is comprised of 40 Boeing 767s. We operate out of 21 airfields across the continental United States and Hawaii, actually. And I'm growing rapidly a team to continue this amazing growth. I probably wouldn't have believed you. But it's interesting how I got to that point. So I took this leap of faith. I did have some other opportunities, but I took this leap of faith with Amazon. And I started out as an operations manager at one of our older fulfillment centers or warehouses in Lexington, Kentucky. So I started leading a team of 380 people, basically the people that are responsible for picking any order that you may place off of a shelf and putting it into a box. So I did that. Within about 10 months, I was promoted to senior operations manager, leading a team of 1,000 people within that same facility. After 2 years, I was asked if I'd like to go down to Fort Worth, Texas and launch a 1.2 million square foot facility, robotics ready, all of the newest technology, so I went from very old to very new. So I jumped at that opportunity, led the outbound operation and the launch of that facility. After one Christmas season, I then really randomly got a phone call out of the blue asking if I'd like to go over to Wales and lead our operation in Wales. So I guess there's still some Navy blood in me. I couldn't stay anywhere for too long, so I went across the pond, went over to Wales, led the operation there for two of our holiday seasons. And as I was getting ready to come back to the U.S., I was offered an opportunity to move to central London and lead the Northwest region throughout Northwest England and Wales, and about 7,000 employees at that point. So after 3 years of time in the UK, it was really time for me to turn into a pumpkin, head back to the States. And one of the things that our senior leadership was looking for was somebody that had Amazon operations experience as well as aviation experience. So that was kind of a short list at Amazon. There really weren't too many people that fit that bill. So they asked if I was interested in that opportunity, and I jumped on it. I love the fact that I'm able to combine two of my passions, aviation and Amazon operations, into one, and we've been able to build an incredible team. And when we talk about veteran hiring and veteran recruitment, we take that very seriously at Amazon. And I look at the things that we do now as I grow out the air haul network, just as a perfect example. If you remember back about a year and a half ago when the devastating hurricanes hit Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, we actually have an internal disaster relief team that handles disaster relief requests. And they came to us as the air program asking what we could do to help. Obviously, a little more difficult to get things to the islands versus land-based. So have air, we'll travel. So we said, yep, we can do this. And the team that I put on to work that effort came from Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. I still need to work on Coast Guard, but we were able to leverage our logistics, our operational experience, make that happen. And I have a quick video to share with you that kind of demonstrates that effort.
Sarah and her team are helping to deliver hope.
Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands was unique because we got hit by not just one but two hurricanes. These people are dealing with a lot of trauma. There's a lot of devastation. The houses were torn down, their roofs are missing.
We're full of baby formula, diapers, towels, blankets, tarps, tents, load them onto our very large aircraft and deliver them directly to the people of Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands.
To see the planes land, to see all of those goods arrive on the tarmac and unloaded, you know where they're going, you know that they're desperately needed, and you know that they're being put into the hands of the people that will get them there, which is doing the Red Cross.
Disaster relief repeated from Mexico to the Caribbean to the southern U.S. Amazon delivered in a whole new way.
To realize that they're meeting their basic need. There was relief, there was gratitude, and then there was, let's roll up our sleeves and get the work done.
It felt great, and more so, I was very proud of my team and all the teams that worked together to make that happen. So much like our disaster relief effort, Amazon takes hiring veterans very seriously. And some of you may remember that our founder and CEO, Jeff Bezos, 2 years ago made a commitment to hiring 25,000 veterans by 2021. Well, I'm happy to say that we're well on our way. So far, we've hired 18,000 veterans and spouses of veterans over the past few years. And in recognition of the value that veterans bring to the Amazon organization, we actually just named our 40th aircraft that we accepted into our network in early November. We named it Valor, and it's in recognition of Amazon veterans. And the name was suggested by our Amazon warrior community. We actually had three veterans across all of Amazon. They all submitted the same name, so we decided, you know what, that's definitely a fitting name. And I've got a very quick video that I'd like to share with you, just because it was such a proud moment for us. Just go to the next slide, and there we go.
I'm a veteran and Army spouse, and at Amazon, I'm a great company.
I am privileged to be here today with this group of Amazon lawyers, and you have been critical at Amazon for a long time, not just your service to the country, but your service to Amazon customers. Today, I get to unveil the name and this plane. I think you'll like it.
So we mean it. If I talk about diversity and inclusion as well, I would like to touch on that very important subject because, as you've heard throughout the theme so far during this general session, it's very important to cast a very wide net and ensure that our aperture is wide open to capture all the fantastic talent that is out there. My organization, the Amazon Air organization, we sponsor organizations such as Women in Aviation International, as well as the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals. I also, on my team, have representatives from 10 different nationalities. I hire people right out of school with undergraduate degrees that have no experience in aviation whatsoever. I hire people from the aviation industry. I hire veterans right out of the service. I hire people with advanced degrees. I hire people with MBAs. I even have a few PhDs on my team. I've hired people internally from with Amazon that have just worked their way up through the ranks. And when we put all of those fantastic people together, we do amazing things because we're able to leverage each other's strengths. And when we do that, we at Amazon Air are able to do something that nobody ever thought an internet retail company would do, and that's building an air hold network. So with that, thank you very much for having me here today and to speak with you. I'll be around after the general section, so if you have any questions at all about transitioning whatsoever, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Our military recruiting team is here in full force. We're happy to answer questions, and they'll help you out as well. We want to help you out in any way. We'd love for you to come work for us, but if not, you're still our customers more than likely, so thank you very much. So, so if I leave you with any one parting words besides a sales pitch, it is, you'll be all right. You'll find the right fit. It's important for you to find that fit. Some of you may become your own business owners, entrepreneurs, work for large corporations, maybe continue service within the government, any or all of the above. But it's not if you'll find a job or the right career, it's when, and ensuring that it's a good mutual fit. You'll be fine. The world is your oyster right now. Enjoy the conference. Build and work your networks while you're here. Have fun, and I wish all of you a happy, healthy, and prosperous 2019. Thank you very much.